What's up, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of Casters of Horror. I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane, and today we're breaking down Barbarian.
Yeah. So I'm ready to get into this one. How about you, sir?
I am too. I was really looking forward to this movie.
This is one that I was interested in talking about since we started the show.
Yeah.
I have something in my eye all of a sudden. That makes for good video.
Yeah.
Makes great podcast. Anyway, we got a little bit of news to jump into before we get started. First off, what we talked about last week, Terrifier 2 has been submitted for Oscar consideration.
Yeah.
Yes, I am so happy for this.
Yeah, I am too.
I want to see all these old Academy members sitting at home watching this movie, deciding whether or not Art the Clown should be walking up on stage. I would love to see him in a black and white suit.
Yeah.
Split down the middle and just, getting the award.
Yeah.
I would love
Some
it.
funny stuff. I know they cleared 10 million, I heard, over the weekend, I think.
10 million over the weekend. Yeah.
So shout out to that team. That's a pretty great accomplishment. So
well done, you guys. Well done. Next little bit of news that I have: Nicolas Cage is going to star in and produce a new film called Longlegs. Supposedly there's some hype around this thing. It's got a writer and director that's been kind of working with Jordan Peele. I don't know a whole lot about the project. Have you heard much about it?
As far as I know, there's not really anything known about the project. So
I know that I'm going to look it up real quick because I kind of had parts of the notes and then but anyway, he's going to be doing some of the producing on it under his Saturn Films. Some of the guys that are also producing on it worked on Sinister, La La Land, and Joker.
Wow, Sinister, La La Land.
Yeah, and Joker.
Okay,
come on.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite the vast array of the plethora of movies. Not everybody stays to one genre, I guess. So, especially if you're producing. But anyway, so that'll be interesting to see. Nick has made a lot of good choices lately, I think. Between Mandy, Pig, let's see, Wally's Wonderland,
Color Out of Space.
Yeah.
I really like the direction of his career in recent years. He's just taking on all these almost bonkers projects,
weird roles. Yeah. I have not yet watched his Unbearable Weight of
Massive Talent.
Yes.
Yeah, I have not seen that.
I have not watched that one yet. I need to check that one out when I'm not busy watching stuff for whatever stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all that I had for movie news. Movie news. We forgot to do it at the beginning.
Totally forgot.
I know. Yeah, I just said it, and we had to play the sound. So anyway, let's jump on into the movie.
Yeah, let's go.
Why not? We're only 4 minutes into the show.
Yeah,
Why not?
It's the quickest we've ever gotten started on it.
I know. Yeah. It's I'm a pretty quick guy, so I've been told. So Barbarian, written and directed by Zach Kreger. From what I know, this is kind of his film debut. He's done some short films, but this is, from what I know, his feature-length film debut.
Okay.
He also directed some shorts, like I said, some TV episodes of things. He also wrote and directed 53, 57, somewhere. I know it was some sort of odd number. There was a show called The Whitest Kids You Know. It was like a sketch comedy show. Yeah. So anyway, from what I know, that's kind of what he's done. So this is kind of his first out of the box big debut.
Okay.
So I hadn't heard of him before this.
Nah, me neither.
Still haven't heard of him now. Apparently. Anyway, let's jump right on into the movie.
Yeah.
First off, we start off with a shot of the house where everything takes place.
Yeah.
It's the middle of the night.
I love this shot, dude.
This
is a fantastic opening shot with just it's a really dark area, and all you see is the house is illuminated and it's raining out and there's eerie music going on, and you can kind of hear some screaming in the background, but just the framing of this shot. Yeah. The framing of this shot is just perfect. I loved it.
We meet Tess, who's pulling up to the front of the house. Tess is going to be kind of our main protagonist throughout this film.
Yeah.
She's played by Georgina Campbell, who has done a lot of TV stuff before this, a lot of short films too.
Okay.
She was in Krypton, one of those Superman, I believe, CW iteration of some sort.
Okay.
She was also on an episode of Black Mirror. Hang the DJ was the episode that she was on. For anybody who really got into Black Mirror.
I was for a while, but I don't know if I never watched the last season, so I don't know.
I will tell you this much. I never watched an episode of Black Mirror.
Really?
And I'm not saying that to brag. Just never started it. So I need to watch it.
Yeah.
I need to watch it. But anyway, she's supposed to be staying at this house as like an Airbnb.
Yeah.
She gets out of the car. It's raining, like you said, and she struggles to get the key out of the box. Can't get it out. And we see that the key box, once she does get it open, is empty. She looks around, and there are no lights anywhere down the whole street. It is black.
Yeah, there are no street lights on. There are no street lights at all. It is dark.
There are houses, but I mean, the difference between there could be a light on somewhere around.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
No, it's black. You can see sort of like structures, but just like the outlines of some structures maybe, but no, it's completely dark.
You can make out shapes.
That's important later, actually.
Yeah. So she gets back into her car, and then lights come on inside the house.
Yeah.
She goes back up to the house, rings the doorbell, and a gentleman opens the door. His name is Keith, we later find out. He's played by Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah.
AKA Mr. Horror at this point. He played Pennywise in both the new remakes of It.
Yeah.
He's also going to be playing Eric Draven in the new remake of Crow.
Oh.
Or The Crow.
Is he? I hadn't heard that.
He is.
Wow.
Which is in post-production at the moment.
Okay. Oh, that's
I heard that.
That's great casting.
Yeah. And he's done some other horror stuff. There's also rumors that he's going to be Nosferatu in the new Nosferatu remake. So not only is he Mr. Horror, we should say he's Mr. Remake Horror.
Yeah.
But anyway, they find out that they both got booked at the same time, him and Tess. They both have reservations for this Airbnb.
Yeah.
And he says, why don't you come inside? We'll call. Now, Tess has already called at this point. Nobody's answered. They're trying to find out what's going on. We then go to the title screen. Barbarian comes across the Barbarian.
Yeah.
Barbarian. I don't know which way to go. Anyway, it comes up and you hear that wailing softly in the background.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're now inside the house. Tess is asking if Keith can pull up his reservations to show her for proof. And he says, what? Like I'm some sort of weirdo that just broke in and is staying here?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me go get my phone or whatever.
Yeah.
So she goes to use the restroom at the same time while he's going to look for the phone. She comes back out and his info looks legit.
Yeah.
They both have a reservation under the same date from the same company who's doing
Although,
the management.
when they're standing at the door, she's like, "I rented this from Airbnb," and he says, "I got it through HomeAway or something like that." And then
Okay.
he checks the phone number she called, and it turns out they have the same contact
Same
number.
number.
So to me, that was a red flag. I'm like, whoa, he said he got this from another place
Yeah.
than she did.
Yeah. But same number.
Yeah.
Same number. So he says he feels bad. She says it's not your fault. He says, you can hang out here until you find a place. She says, no, I'll go find a hotel or something. And he goes, I wouldn't sit out in the car. Just stay here. You can, I'll go make some tea.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Cause he's like, he's like, basically, have you seen the neighborhood? He's like, this is not the best place, which
I would not sit outside.
Right.
He said, yeah. So, and he says, you're an attractive young lady, blah, 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 blah. So far, we're seeing red flags go.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, he's like, would you like some tea? And she said, no. And, no, thank you. And he's like, I'm going to make some tea. I'll make you a cup, too.
Yeah, I'll make you a cup.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's looking for vacancies. She's calling around. Nobody has any vacancies.
Yeah.
And Keith says, I think there's a convention in town.
Yeah.
And he's like some sort of medical thing or whatever. So at this point, you're like, okay, Keith knows some stuff, or he's just making things up. One or the other. So he's like, well, you're welcome to stay here. I'll take the couch. You can have the bedroom. And she's like, no, I couldn't do that. I'll take the couch and all this. And he goes, no, I couldn't let you. Maybe it's my upbringing.
Yeah.
So anyway, next we see that she's sitting there. She hasn't drank her tea.
Yeah.
Oh no, they said about the sheets. That's what it was. She said that she preferred clean sheets, and he had already been in the bed.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So he goes, he says, well, he goes and washes the sheets.
Yeah.
Puts them in the washing machine. So next scene, we see her sitting on the couch. The tea is still sitting there. She has not drank it. And Keith has gone out to get her bags.
And she does take a lingering look at the tea, too.
Yes.
And the camera is like this overhead shot or something of it. And and she's like looking at it, It's like, okay. Yeah, there's something going on here.
Yep. So he brings in the bags. She goes to her room, locks the door.
Yeah.
Okay. He's now left his wallet inside the bedroom, we see. She goes through it, verifies that it's his name on the license, takes a picture of it with her phone. Then she comes out and says, oh, you left your wallet. And he's like, oh, thank you. Good eyes. Blah,
Yeah.
blah. So she goes, she washes up. Oh, he had mentioned earlier that there was a bottle of wine that somebody had left.
Oh, yeah, the previous renters or something.
Yeah. So there's a bottle of wine, or would you like some tea? So she washes up in the bathroom, comes out, and he's sitting at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
With a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. And it's unopened.
Yeah.
And he makes it very clear that it's been unopened because he said that he noticed that she hadn't drank her tea. So he goes into this whole thing about, I understand you didn't see me make it.
Yeah.
This is unopened. I made sure it was unopened. So that way you wouldn't question and blah, blah, blah. So we're getting this whole vibe from him.
Yeah.
So she finally sits down at the table. She still says she doesn't want anything to drink. He pours himself a glass and he asks why she's in town. She's in town for a job interview.
Yep.
For a documentary film. She wants to work for this film or director.
Yeah.
Who's making documentary films about the low income housing and things that are changing in Detroit, the lower income sections and the things that are happening. Well, he mentions that he has seen the director's other film. She's like, there's no way you could have possibly seen the other film.
Yeah.
Like, nobody watches it. It's terrible. That's why I'm getting a job from her. And he's like, no. And he starts naming off very specific things from the documentary.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I'm one of the founders of Lion Tamers, which I'm like, Lion Tamers? And I was like, oh, Detroit. And then I was like, well, Detroit Tigers. So why are they called Lion Tamers? And it just didn't make sense to me. Anyway, so
I wasn't sure. Was it supposed to be like some sort of? I mean, it's a group of some sort, but I didn't really get the context of it.
So what they were low income housing developers. So what they would do is they would find areas of the like disenfranchised, like areas like that are really, really run down neighborhoods.
Oh, okay.
And they would go in, fix them up for low income housing to basically help people that need nice houses. He's a philanthropist,
okay.
Of sorts. So anyway, that's what the group or the organization that he helped start.
Yeah.
So now you're thinking, okay, maybe this is all too good to be true. He knows so much about what she's doing and all this sort of stuff. And he's now even something like, maybe you'd want to interview one of the people who do it. Yeah. I know you should talk to me.
A lot of things are really lining up here in a way that you think, I don't know, girl, come on.
Yep. Yeah. Run. So anyway, the conversation then moves to the couch because she's now interested in what he has to say.
Yeah, she's really letting down her guard.
Yes, she's drinking wine now. They're laughing and all this. And then she starts talking about how girls have to be careful. How if he was in the same situation that she was in, she would have never opened the door for him.
Yeah.
Because of how dangerous it would be and all this. And, how the difference is between men and women in this situation. So that conversation goes on, blah, blah, blah. And then the next scene, we see them making the bed together.
Yeah.
It's just kind of this goofy scene, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I put too.
They make the bed.
They're laughing and being goofy. They have and especially her, she's clearly become much more comfortable with him, with this total stranger. Yeah. So,
and he's been very chill this whole time.
Yeah.
So this is not a, I'm sure it's awkward of some sort. So then they have this awkward moment where they're kind of standing there staring at each other, not quite knowing what to do, and it's kind of one of those, because they've had a good time together and they're both slightly buzzed. So he's just like, oh, I'll go to the couch and all this. So he closes the door.
Yeah.
And she does not lock the door at this point.
Oh, she didn't.
She does not.
Okay. I actually wondered that. I didn't.
She sits down onto the bed.
Okay.
And then lays down and goes to sleep. The door does not get locked.
Oh.
So next thing we know, it's the middle of the night. Tess is asleep, and we hear this weird hiss sound, like this type sound.
Yeah. And
she wakes up
creaking. You hear some floorboard.
Yeah, some creaking, something's walking on the floor and all this.
Yeah.
And she looks over towards the door, and the door's halfway open. So we're thinking, oh, maybe it's Keith. He's doing something. Well, we hear Keith from the other room having night terrors.
Yeah.
Some sort of nightmare of some sort.
Yeah.
And
because he's yelping and jerking in his sleep,
crashing around.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll watch it on the jerking in his sleep.
Yeah.
Hey.
Whoa.
Yeah. This is a different kind of movie. Barbarian. So anyway, he's having the night terrors. She kind of starts creeping closer to him, and we see her door start closing down the hallway, just slightly out of focus.
Well, it's not her door.
Behind her.
It's not.
It was not her door?
No, it's not. It's
oh, that's right.
It's the door further down the hallway.
You're right,
yeah,
sir.
We'll come back to that.
I did not catch that.
Yeah.
I thought it was her door, so well done you. So she touches him. He screams awake. She's like, I'm so sorry. And he's pissed that she woke him up.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you doing? All that.
I mean, he is mad, but it's almost like he's also like terrified.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
because he's like, you scared the crap out of me. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know? So it's almost like he's now got this like he's playing this almost where like he feels like she's being a creeper, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, because I mean, it really looks like it. Like
Yeah.
she's standing over him, and like, yeah.
yeah.
So she quickly goes back to her bed, and then she locks the door.
Okay, yeah.
Well, she does ask him if he opened up her door.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. You know, he's like, what? No. So she goes back to the bed and locks the door.
Yeah.
Now it's the next morning. Typical trope. She's slept in. She's overslept.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, movie trope.
Has to get ready. Yeah. As soon as the day came up, I was like,
yeah,
she overslept.
She overslept.
And then it was
like
like,
the same thing.
Yeah. And then she like looks at her phone. She's like, oh no. And she takes off running.
Yeah.
So at this point, we've seen that Keith is gone. She can't find him in the house. She doesn't hear him. And Keith has left a note on the table. You know, like, I had a great time last night, you know, kick ass today, you know, in the interview. Can't wait to see you tonight, you know, type thing. And yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of like, all right. Kind of creepy.
It does. It comes off as a little creepy.
Yeah. So, but she's like blissfully happy about it.
Yeah.
So, she steps outside.
Yeah.
And he does say, take the key, lock the door.
Oh yeah.
Put it in the drop box.
Yeah.
This becomes important in a little while.
Yeah.
Puts it in there, closes it up. She looks around, and all the houses in the neighborhood are abandoned.
Yeah, trashed.
And just trashed in disarray.
Is what I was saying at the beginning. You know,
looks like half of my town.
Oh yeah. But like, because the street was so dark with no streetlights, we didn't see this. Now we're actually getting our first view of the neighborhood, and you've got this one, I mean, still in decent condition house surrounded by houses that are either just really not well kept, or they're like half torn down, half fallen over.
The house that she's staying in was nice house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cute place.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from like the door being a little worn,
oh yeah,
the rest of it looked like it had a fairly new paint job to it. And I mean, it's a nice place.
Yeah, but the rest of the neighborhood is like trashed. I mean, it's like, it's clearly one of those places
nobody's lived in it for a long time.
Yeah. It's like, it's bad.
And this goes on for miles.
Yeah.
We see.
Yeah.
But before I jump into that, oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, it goes on for miles because she's driving down the road and there's abandoned places and all that sort of stuff. So then we're in the city, which we find out is Detroit, which we had found out from when they were talking that night.
Yeah.
So she's in Detroit. She meets the director for the job. Just kind of leaves where there's no conversation between them. You just see them through the glass. They're talking. And
but
blah, blah, blah.
like, but when that shot, you know, it's like panning out, you know, and you kind of see, or like there's this music going in the background. So I'm like, is someone watching them?
Is he watching them? Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and prior to this, I forgot to mention, she has pulled up the photo of his driver's license on her phone, and she's looking at it and kind of smiling and all this. And then the director's like, Tess, and she's like, oh, and just kind of gets startled. So, and then we see the pull out shot. Well, that sounded horrible. But we see,
we don't. But basically, we don't get the conversation between them. But, you know,
correct.
But we see that they're having a conversation, is all. So,
absolutely,
yeah.
So she comes out of the place. She's like, "So where are you staying at?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm staying at a Airbnb over in Brightmoor." Yeah. And the lady looks at her and she goes, "In Brightmoor?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's a cute place." And she goes, "You shouldn't be staying there.
You should not be there."
Yeah, you should not be there. And she goes, "Well, you know, I have a roommate then I'm like, okay, she's clearly comfortable with Keith now.
Yeah.
And then the director's like, okay, be safe.
Be careful. Seriously.
And she's like, I'll see you tomorrow. I look forward to, doing the
Yeah.
So you assume that she's got
the job. Sounds like she's got the job. The interview went well or whatever. So good for her.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yay. Because that's a hard thing to do. So we're once again driving by all the sketchy houses. Again, looks like most of the streets in my neighborhood. Yeah, really. She gets out of the car and she hears somebody yelling down the street, a male voice. And you kind of see this guy out of focus and he's running towards her.
Yeah, definitely don't get a good look at him.
He's like, hey, you girl.
Yeah.
Hey, lady, blah, blah, blah.
But the exact words though are like really creepy because he's like, hey, little girl, come here.
That's right. Girl. Yeah, hey, little girl, come here. I couldn't remember what he was saying.
He was calling her little girl. He kept calling her little girl. Yeah. Hey, little girl, come here.
Yeah.
He's like, get out.
Hey, you're a little girl.
When she runs into the house.
Fairly rough voice.
Yeah. She barricades herself inside and he's like banging on the doors. Get out of that house.
Yep.
So it's like,
so she quickly does the key box thing and gets into the house. She has the key, closes the door barely, like you said.
Yeah.
And she calls the police. And the lady the operator is like, we don't have any available units.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're not going to send anybody? She's like, I told you we don't have any available units. Yeah. And it's like, somebody's trying to break into the house and it's like, the police are obviously going to be no help at this point. She looks out. She doesn't see the guy anywhere around. So she decides to pee again, which I realized Tess pees a lot. For most movies where maybe you see one bathroom scene, if that, there's a lot of peeing in this movie.
Yeah.
Because even Justin Long pees later, which, anyway. So there's no toilet paper. It's in there, and she's like, oh, no toilet paper. So she looks around, and she's looking through all these different
we get this really weird montage of her, checking every room in the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then she opens this one door and sees there's a basement to this house.
This is the door that closed earlier behind her that she didn't notice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So she sees a package of toilet paper sitting downstairs on an old washing machine, it appears, or something. So she goes down to get some. And the door closes behind her.
Yeah. Well, isn't it as she's walking back up, I think?
I don't remember.
I think it's because she grabs it and she's walking back up and then it just suddenly, closes. So it's like...
And not only does it close, it's
locked. Oh, yeah.
She's left her phone on the table in the kitchen and she's stuck.
Yeah.
She realizes at this point, okay, Keith will be coming back. But I have the key inside my pocket.
Yep.
So anyway, she's searching around down in the basement trying to find some way or some sort of something to pry the door. I don't know what she's looking for exactly.
Yeah.
She's looking for something. Well, while she's in there, she sees this rope that's kind of coming out of a hole in the wall.
It's like tucked behind this shelf. There's some stuff, so, and she just happens
little tchotchkes and whatnot. And it's kind of like one of those ones, like a gate lock, like you see where it's like you pull a little rope and it unlatches a hidden door that's been inside of this basement wall.
Yeah.
To a very dark something.
I love this part.
It's just dark.
She looks in it.
I'll let you tell it then.
This door opens up and it's just pure darkness and just without missing a beat, she looks at it and she goes, nope. And then she walks away. It's
walks away and she sits back on the stairs and she leaves the door open.
I know. I thought that too. I'm like, I'd have been closing that sucker and pretending I never seen it.
All right. So Tess realizes that there is a lone light bulb kind of dimly lighting the basement.
Yeah.
and she finds like this door length mirror thing, and she kind of angles it so it kind of shoots some light down that tunnel thing, which I was like, that's pretty smart.
That's actually pretty clever, I know.
Yeah.
She's got this whole thing set up where she uses like the furniture and
chairs
things.
and all this stuff. So she tilts it, and she decides to venture down into the tunnel, which actually looks kind of like a mine shaft, really. I mean, it's not just a cutout tunnel. It's got wooden structure and all this sort of stuff. So somebody has worked on this. So she gets pretty much all the way to the end of this tunnel and finds a door that's open. She grabs the door handle. That's right. She grabs the door handle and opens up this door. And she flips on a light switch, which I guess she just found in the dark. So she switches on this light.
Well, I could see the bulb, the door, and the light switch just from her shining the mirror down there. So,
you could see it from the far.
Yeah.
Listen. Anyway, so she switches on a light, and there's this nasty bed, a video camera, like an old VHS one, and a bucket, like this nasty bucket. And you're just like, oh, this looks like Tuesday night.
Well, we've all seen real life news stories about stuff like this happening, so she knows immediately this is some sort of just get out.
Get out quick. So anyway, she gets out of there fast. As she's coming out of the tunnel, you hear boom, boom, boom on the door of the house, really, really loud. And it's Keith. He's trying to get in. And she's screaming from the basement. There's a little window that's kind of exposed to the, just like above the grass,
Oh, yeah.
where you can see out.
Yeah. It's one of those ground floor windows.
Yeah. And she's just like, Keith. And he sees her and he's like, what are you doing down there? And he's like, I don't have the key. And she's like, I have the key. So anyway, they end up prying the window open. She hands the key. And then you're like, oh, it's on now. She's stuck and he's got the key.
Oh, yeah.
And then he opens up the door.
Yeah.
To the basement, and she comes out, and he's like, "You're safe, you're safe." And she tells him about the room, and she's like, "I'm out of here." And he's like, "No, wait, just give me a few minutes. Let me." And you're like, "Wait a minute, are you gonna try to explain what's going on?"
Yeah,
because this has now gotten creepy. Because why is he saying, "Wait, just don't leave yet. Don't just give me a second. I want to see the room. Just wait."
Yeah. And basically, he says he wants her to stick around just in case he gets locked in too.
Yeah, just in case.
But
he gets locked in. Yeah. I don't know where I should have done the air quotes, but I'll just do them all the way through it.
In case he gets locked in.
There you go. Not in the way of the short film or that film that you watched. Locked in.
Not the lock in.
Yeah. So. Anyway, he goes down. She's like, okay, fine. He goes down there. She's like, do you see it? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, come back up. And you don't hear anything.
Nope.
And you still don't hear anything. And he should be back. And she goes down. She's like, Keith. Keith. And then the door tries to lock again. She quickly catches it before it does. And she goes and finds a chair and props it up against there to keep it from closing on her.
Yeah.
So she goes down and she's going to go investigate. And the light is still on down at the end of the hallway inside that room. And she continues down there. And there's no Keith in the room whatsoever.
But to me, at the end of this hallway, I thought it was very clearly obvious that there's another indentation.
Another there.
Yeah. So it's like, how did you not see that with all that light? But whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Well, anyway, she finds it.
Yeah.
That there's another door. It's not a dead end. It's another doorway.
this is another fantastic shot, because at this point the music has stopped. It's dead quiet. You have this another darkened room, and of course, as a horror movie veteran, I don't know about you, but I'm sitting there like, okay, here comes a jump scare.
Yep.
But
I was waiting for something to come out of that door.
Yeah. Yep, me too.
It doesn't.
Nope.
So spoiler. So all it does is you see that there's a stairway that descends even farther. Now we're not dealing with the wooden beams. It's just this dugout tunnel with stairs that leads even further down. She yells again for Keith, and she's freaking out at this point.
Yeah.
And you hear Keith way off down in the distance.
Help me. He's like, help me.
Help me. Tess, help. And blah, blah. And, I mean, he's way down there somewhere.
Yeah.
And to me, this is one of those movies that is best watched in the dark. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
because of the elements of it that are just so dark.
Yeah.
If you were to watch this in like a lit room or anything like that, I don't think that the ambiance would be quite the same.
Yeah, totally agree.
It would take you out of the experience.
Yeah.
So as she's going down these stairs, what was really interesting to me was the sound design at this point, because you start hearing it, like you're hearing the music and everything, but then you start faintly hearing a heartbeat, and it starts going faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And then she gets down to the bottom of the stairs, and you're waiting for something to come jumping out.
Yep.
And it doesn't.
Again. I mean, she goes down and turns a corner.
Yeah. So now she's turned a corner, and there's a gate.
Yeah.
And you hear Keith screaming again.
You can hear him a little bit better now.
A little bit better. We know we're getting a little closer.
And all I can think at this point is, I'm like, stop. Just stop walking.
Yeah. Don't go any farther.
Don't go any farther.
Don't do it. She's
at
least got her phone at this point.
Yeah.
She's using that as a flashlight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the flashlight part of it, not like turning it and just going, oh, I can't barely see. So anyway, she sees these cages in these outcroppings. Like little dugout tunnel areas off to the sides, and there's cages in there and bowls where it looked like there was food that was
like dog bowls, dog food bowls,
like kennel like big dog kennel size.
Yeah, that's what it looked like, a bunch of kennels. Yeah.
So you're like, oh man, what's going on? Is Keith keeping people down here and torturing them? I'm like, we're getting into some really good really good torture stuff going on here pretty soon. This is Eli Roth territory now. So we see this dark hallway. She's still working her way down it, and you hear this scuffling coming towards her. Yeah. And all of a sudden you see this, and I don't know why they had to make it. This is the first kind of jump scare of the whole thing. Keith crawling towards her.
Yeah.
But he had this weird crawl.
Yeah.
It was almost like this, I don't know, supernatural thriller.
Yeah.
Kind of eerie crawl. But then you see he's kind of like dragging himself and crawling at the same time too. And he's like, you got to help me. Get out of here. We got to go. Someone bit me.
Yeah. Someone bit me.
And she's like, what? He's like, someone bit you. We can't go that way. We got to keep going. He's like, we got to keep going into the dark
because she's wanting to go back. She's like, well, then let's get out of here. And he's like, no, we can't go that. We have to keep going this way.
And he's like, that's where it bit me was back there. And I'm like, something doesn't add up. Something
Well,
seems
turn
weird.
around and leave him.
Yeah, get out of there because this guy is going to put you in a cage. He's going to drag you somewhere. It's nope. It doesn't happen. All of a sudden, there's this naked, freaky lady that comes out of nowhere behind Keith and starts bashing his head up against the wall.
Tasty.
And it's a bloody mess, and Keith's dead. The whole red herring that's been set up this whole time, you're just like waiting for him to do something.
Yeah.
Dead. Goes pitch black. That's it. And
Dude,
you're like,
totally caught me off guard.
Yeah, I was not seeing that.
Completely caught me off guard. Was not expecting this.
Coming.
Nope.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it. He's gone. He's not in the movie anymore.
And honestly, you could have the movie could have ended at this point and it would have been a fantastic short film. You would have been like,
yeah,
holy crap,
Yeah.
But no, we go on. So
yeah, we're
next thing we see,
we're just over 40 minutes into the movie now, and now if you saw the trailer,
ironically, also just 40 minutes into this podcast.
Yeah.
So continue.
If you saw the trailer to this movie, this is now where the movie is. It's where the trailer started, because now we have Justin Long jamming out in his car.
Yeah, happy music, driving on the I-5 in California next to the beach, next to the ocean, and he gets a phone call, interrupting him mid-song.
Yeah.
Which he does say the line, something about it, and then as soon as it goes to the phone, not the phone call, but when the ring happens and the music cuts out, and he's like, and that's when I killed her. So that's kind of a, yeah. Anyway, so not to give anything away. Which actually is not giving anything away, to be honest. Anyway, so it's a phone call from studio execs. He's supposedly a director, we find out. And he is being fired over a phone call due to sexual allegations with one of the leading stars of his new TV series that's supposed to be starting.
Oh, so he was the director? I had it in my head that he was like co-starring. I guess I totally missed the director part.
No. From what I was getting, he was the director of it.
Oh, okay.
So
either way, whatever. I mean,
that's what I got out of it. So anyway, so the execs can him.
Yeah.
Now he's meeting with his accountant. He's like, look, I've got to figure out how much money I have left because I'm basically just going to pay her off. I'm going to, we're going to settle all these losses. I didn't do it, but I'm going to settle all these losses. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. So they're going to settle out of court, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So
he's basically here to talk to his accountant to see how much money he has.
Yeah.
And what these lawsuits, because he's being sued by her, and then he's also filing a countersuit against her.
Yeah.
For defamation, I guess.
Yeah. So he's looking at having to spend out a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the accountant says, you've basically got like 3 months left of money. That's about it. After you've paid everything out, without you having a job, your name's going to be dragged through the mud. Nobody's going to hire you. Basically, you've got 3 months to survive.
Yeah.
And he's like, what should I do? And he's like, well, you need to sell your house here. Like his California big house.
Well, because he's like, I could sell the
Michigan.
I could
properties.
I could sell the Michigan properties, and
he's like,
his
those
accountant's
really aren't
like,
worth anything.
Yeah.
So then the accountant says, well, I'm dropping you too. So and it's like,
he's like, one thing you are going to have to do is find someone else to handle your finances or whatever.
So he basically tells him that he needs to sell the house, move into one of the Michigan properties, which are his rental properties that he has up there. So supposedly he has more than one. So anyway, next scene, we're seeing him getting on a plane, flying to Michigan. He's now flown to Michigan. He gets, he's getting to his rental car, calls up his lawyer. He's talking to his lawyer. And he says to the lawyer, yeah, well, I can't, meet for such. He's like, he goes, what do you mean by rental? He says something about rental. And he's like, well, I got a rental car. I'm in Michigan. He's like, you're not supposed to leave the state.
Yeah.
He's like, now you look really guilty and all this sort of stuff.
This is the point where we find out that it's clearly a lot worse than he thinks or whatever, because you're not supposed to leave the state because they're like, getting arrested is a possibility.
Arrest you, because it's not just sexual allegations. He has,
he's been accused of assault.
He's been accused of grapes, without the G and the S at the end.
Because grapes won't get us, demonetized. Or whatever on YouTube.
Yes, he used his banana to get grapes. So anyway, you're not supposed to leave the state. So anyway, blah blah. He picks up the keys for the house from the property management office, and he shows up in front of the house, the Airbnb house, and we see Tess's car is still sitting out front. He looks at it kind of weird, like, what's going on? He goes in and he sees the door to the basement propped open. He's like, what the hell? And he goes over and pulls the chair and slams the door shut. And he's seen that somebody's been staying there at this house. And he calls up the property manager and says, who's living here? And she's like, well, nobody's supposed to be living there.
Yeah. She says that it's been 3 weeks since they last rented the property to someone.
So now at this point, we've realized he has no idea that his house is being used for an Airbnb, but neither does his property manager. So somebody has been renting out his property as an Airbnb.
Is that how you took that? That's not how I took it.
That's exactly how I took it.
I took it that he was intentionally renting the place out, but that there wasn't supposed to be anybody there at that point. Because he asks, is someone renting this place right now? And she answers that the last person that rented it was like a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So I just assumed that, this is his property, this is his house, but he rents it out when he knows he's not going to be there. That's how I took that.
Maybe. I mean, I was looking at it more of like it was a rental property, like it was full-time rental type thing as opposed to Airbnb. But with what you're saying, that does make sense. However, with your thought process and my thought process, nobody's supposed to be there.
Right.
They're not even supposed to be here today.
Yeah. One way or the other, no.
And they aren't the ones setting up for these people to be here at this house. So somebody has put the property up for rent and luring people in. So Justin's getting ready for the night. He's on a phone call with his mom. She's like, you should come back to Detroit and see us. Your father wants to see you, blah, blah, blah. What did you do, booby? Type thing, And he's like, I didn't do anything, Mom. I didn't do anything. I'm a good boy, type thing.
Yeah.
And anyway, he doesn't tell his mom that he's back in town. So then he's like, oh, I got a call coming through, and it's like a friend of his or whatever. And he's like, hey, guess he's back in town, bro. And
that's what he says.
Yeah, that's what he said. I used the word grapes earlier. Come on. Like I'm really going to say what he said.
I know.
So anyway, next scene's at a bar. Yeah. He's there with his buddy. Must be like a college buddy, childhood friend, whatever. So his buddy's like, bro, we've known each other for years. What really happened? Like, what really? She's hot, man. Like, what really happened? And he's
I thought for sure this was a setup too.
Yeah.
And I'll take it all. It's spoiler, but I thought for sure that his friend was
a cop. He's like, get down.
Yeah, it was a cop when he was gonna. Yeah. They had gotten to his friend to turn on him to get some info because boy, does the friend get some info about this character, AJ. Is that his name? I think his name's AJ.
Yeah, AJ. So, yes, he's like, yeah. I mean, we hooked up, and all this. He goes, but she wasn't into it at first, but like I was really persistent, Like,
Yeah,
really persistent.
he says she took some convincing.
Yeah, she took some convincing. That's what it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but it was basically like she wasn't into it, but he really worked it so that she would. Yeah. So you could see dude's a scumbag.
This dude's this dude's a scumbag. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, his lawyer had told him, don't contact the girl, don't contact the accuser. He's like, it won't look good, blah, 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 blah. Don't do it. So AJ gets drunk. He calls the girl, drunk dials her. And then he's like, look, I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And he's like, you did, I understand. You went to the cops, blah, blah. I'm not even mad about it. And I'm like.
He says, sorry if I did anything that offended, that might have offended you.
Offended you, yeah.
There's a lot of very interesting intentional wording here.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, which reminds me a lot of people who are in codependent relationships and stuff like that, where like, someone gets beaten or whatever, and then it's like there's all this wordage and all that sort of stuff to make the one individual still sound like a good person.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh yeah. There's a little bit of gaslighting going on here, and he does it even more later. We'll get to that.
So now it's the next day. He's puking his guts out.
Yeah.
I don't remember why he looks in the basement. He does open up the door and looks in the basement.
Well, I think so. So
does he hear a sound?
I think the next morning what happens is he starts going through the luggage and checking to see like who these renters are.
That's right.
I think
he remembers the door being open.
Yeah.
He got there.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's why he goes to look into the basement. He opens it back up.
Yeah. And he hears this like bang sound in there, and the like footsteps running.
Yeah. I was gonna say it did sound like footsteps running. So
yeah. Then he starts yelling out some threats. He's like, "Yo, I'm the man. I'll beat you up." Blah 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 blah, and all this sort of stuff. And he's just in his boxers and like a t-shirt. And so he grabs a knife, a flashlight, gets dressed. It's like a really really wimpy suit up montage. And he goes down there and he's like looking around with the flashlight. At this point, the light bulb is gone, but the mirror and all that sort of stuff still propped up, and he sees
and the secret door is closed again.
Yeah. But then he hears this bang sound from inside the tunnel behind that door.
Yeah.
Now the door is very, very obvious when he shines the flashlight on.
Oh yeah, you can see the
outline of it. Before you couldn't see it, but now you can see it. So he sees the rope, which I noticed was closer this time to the door, which was really weird. That kind of got me because it was farther away from the door. It looked like it was farther away from the door earlier. But
I can't tell if it was farther away or if just that the shelf
could be the angle too.
The shelf was a lot cleaner now. It looked like
there was nothing on it.
There was nothing there now. So
he pulls the rope. Door opens. He goes in with his flashlight. He sees the room in there, and next scene,
Google.
He's like Googling. Can I count underground rooms to square footage?
This is a hilarious twist. Because there's this underground thing, and then boom, Google. Can I count this in square footage? Because
he's looking at selling the place, and he's like, "How can I make the most money out of this?" So he's down. That he grabs a tape or a measuring tape, and he goes down. He starts like measuring. He finds out that in some cases you can.
Yeah.
So he's measuring the tunnel, and he's measuring that extra room.
Yep.
And he's like, yes, and he's excited and happy. And then he finds the hidden door.
Yeah. He bumps into the second hidden door.
Yeah. So then he opens that one up, and he's like, this keeps getting better and better. So He like hooks up the tape and starts going down the stairs measuring. He's like happy and giddy. And then he goes around the corner and then he sees the cages and the little alcoves and he starts measuring those too. And
because he's like, what the? And then he's measuring those. It's like,
and this goes on for a couple minutes and he's just measuring and he keeps going down the hall and he's just backing up and he's just counting off the steps. And all of a sudden he sees this light and he hears like faint talking and music and all this. And it appears to be coming out of a room farther down the hall. So he's going down through the tunnel and it's still pitch black, you know, and he gets to this room and it's almost set up kind of like this really crude nursery. There's like blankets all over the ground.
Yeah.
And there's this TV in the, across the way, and it's playing like this video of like how to breastfeed your baby. And it's like, okay.
Finally the dude is weirded out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And he's like, what? And all of a sudden the measuring tape starts like snapping back. Yeah. It's like you hear this like weird sound and then he drops it and it just starts like reeling back towards it.
Yeah.
Where it came from, where he had hooked it up to.
Yeah.
And he's like, who's there? Who's there? And he hears this noise and he keeps running deeper into the tunnel.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get away from this noise that's obviously coming after him. And he drops the flashlight.
Well, I will say before he does that, though, I wanted to mention we do get another really, really cool shot. It's like a first person view of, we're seeing through his eyes. He's got the knife out and the flashlight out, and down that dark hallway. Yeah. Just a really cool. And then at this point, I couldn't tell if he heard something or if he actually saw something. But he does. Yeah. Regardless, he does start trucking down the hallway. He starts.
He hadn't seen it. That thing had gone, or the tape measure had gone away. He hears something. He hears it running towards him. He takes off. The cool shot. There was some really good shots in this.
Oh yeah, really great shots in this movie.
He takes off running, drops the flashlight, like fumbles it out of his.
He is in a horror movie, so
yeah. Drops the flashlight. Flashlight goes out. He's trying to shake it to turn it back on to get it back going. It finally kind of comes back on, but it's just like flickering, like strobing. And you start hearing that heartbeat sound again, going faster and faster. And the light's flickering. And then we see that horrible, creepy, naked lady thing just in the flashes, like coming closer to him.
Yeah.
And he runs and scrambles and falls down into a hole. Like the dirt
like a
floor.
Deep pit.
A pit. And you see this iron bar cage thing like close over the top of him. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. And Tess comes out of the shadows in the pit. And she's like, shh, quiet.
Yeah.
And then we go to a whole different movie.
And then I texted you. This is where I texted you.
Yeah, he texts me while he's in the middle of the movies. And he goes,
yeah.
If I hadn't noticed the house number, I would have thought this was a completely different film.
Yeah. Like I seriously would have thought that something was wrong with my feed. And like it somehow got like... Either there was something wrong with the video, accidentally spliced in because I've actually had that happen before.
Oh yeah, I've been at theaters when it's switched movies happen.
Oh really?
Oh
I've
yeah,
happened in theaters, but I have had it happen. There was I was watching something on Netflix one time, and we were watching like one of the remakes of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and like at some point it just switched over to a totally different movie, and like
Invasion of the Movie Snatcher.
Yeah.
Snatch the movie right out from you.
If it hadn't been for seeing that house number on this next shot, I honestly would have thought that that's what happened.
Yep. Because it looks like we're in the 1950s at this point.
Yeah.
And the whole neighborhood has houses brightly colored painted, pristine lawns. You can tell it's the same neighborhood, same house, everything. It's just immaculate, the whole neighborhood. We see this guy. It's Richard Brake, which I'm a big fan of Richard Brake, by the way.
Okay. I would not have been able to put a name to the face, but I knew I recognized him.
See, he's done a lot of the Rob Zombie movies.
Okay.
He was in 31. He played one of the main villains in that. I forgot the name of the guy from there. He was in 3 from Hell. He was also in Mandy. He was
really?
One of the he was like the doctor guy that injects them all with the psycho drug or whatever.
Yeah.
He also played the Night King from Game of Thrones, and he was just recently in The Mandalorian as well.
Okay.
Anyway, so he plays a character named Frank in this film, which we come to find out a little bit later.
Yeah. And at this point, to kind of set like the setting here, you hear briefly on the radio, you hear about Reagan inheriting like the worst economy in 50 years. So yeah, it's like, oh, okay, well, we're in administration. We're like you said, we're
in the
back.
80s.
So
yeah, we're in the 80s at this point. We realize, and even though it looked like the 50s, we're actually back in the 80s.
It did, yeah.
So he goes to a grocery store and he's looking for plastic sheets, diapers, and the store clerk, the lady working there, says, "Oh, you know, how old's the baby?" And he's like, "Oh, it hasn't come yet." And you're like, "Okay." And he's like, "We're going to do a home birth." And she's like, "Oh, well, your midwife should have given you a list." And he's like, "No, just me." You're like, okay. So she hands him a VHS tape of like, you know, new parenting and all this sort. And I'm like, it's a VHS tape. I'm like, are we in some sort of a time warp? But I mean, we're clearly still in Detroit and blah, blah, blah. So he gets back into the car after shopping, puts his groceries in, and we see this lady across the street. A nice looking lady, and he's got his eye on her and he's kind of watching her, and next thing you know, he's following her slowly in his car and follows her all the way home.
Yeah.
He gets out of his car, pops the trunk, and he has some costumes in there. One specifically was a repairman uniform, like the city of Detroit water department or whatever. And he goes and knocks on her door and says, "Oh, I'm here from, you know, the city and blah, blah, blah. And we got to check for some issues." So she lets him in, and he goes in, just starts checking faucets and unlocks the window.
Yeah, unlocks the window in the bathroom.
Yep, and says, "Oh, everything's fine. You're good here. You know, just let us know if anything's wrong." And he leaves. He drives back home, and we see his neighbor comes up. He's like, "Hi, diddly dodly," type thing, you know, like Ned Flanders. And he's like, "Just to let you know, there's gonna be a sign out in front of the house. We're moving. The neighborhood's going to hell." Blah blah. And I was like, "It doesn't look like it's going to hell."
It seems to me it's like one of those situations where another thing that I've seen a million times where it's maybe there was some sort of factory or something there that was moving. And see, I was thinking about that same time in the 80s, you know, up there, they had all the automotive factories, GM and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was trying to remember, because they said, you know, you said about the worst economy, Reagan, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah.
Detroit radio and all that sort of stuff. I'm going, okay, well, they're obviously moving out of there. It's not necessarily the neighborhood's going to hell. It's everything's going to hell, basically, in Detroit. So, anyway, Frank says, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here." So he goes into the house with his groceries. He opens up the iconic basement door, and you hear a woman screaming from down there.
Yep.
Going back to now, it kind of morphs into AJ kind of screaming back in the modern day.
We're back to present now. We see the modern day shot of the inside the house. So,
So Tess is telling AJ, "Don't let the lady hear you scream," and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" And then this weird, huge baby bottle
Yeah.
is like coming down through the grate above them, the bars, and that old naked woman is like handing this bottle down, and she's kind of motioning for AJ to drink it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, no. And so she turns it towards Tess, and Tess drinks out of it.
Yeah.
And she's like, drink it, drink it.
Drink it. Just
And
do it. Just do it.
so she turns it back to AJ, and AJ's like, no, 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 no. And the gate flings open, and I'm going to refer to her as Mama, because she just kept going, Mama, Mama, Mama.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jump down in there with AJ, and she gets up into his face, and she's like, Mama, Mama. And she gives Tess a hug.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
caresses her.
Yeah. And because Tess had told AJ, like, about the bottle, she's like,
Yeah,
she
thinks
just
we're
wants you to be her baby.
her baby.
So,
Yeah.
So drink it,
So drink it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So she gives Tess a hug, and then
Yeah.
she grabs AJ by his feet, somehow scampers up out of that hole, and
Yeah.
drags him up out of this pit by his feet.
Well, because Tess had told her, like, you cannot freak out around her, because if you freak out, she'll freak out. And so she gets up into AJ's face, and he's holding it together for a few seconds, when she hugs Tess, when Mama hugs Tess, AJ kind of freaks out a little bit. So that's when Mama goes and gets in AJ's face. And then he totally freaks out, and so she's just grabs him and right up out the hole somehow.
She's got some strength.
Yeah.
She didn't miss leg day or arms day or nothing. So she pulls him out, and she drags him out of the hole and all the way back to that nursery room thing.
Yes.
Meanwhile, she's left the gate open. Tess climbs out.
Yeah.
And
I knew where this was going.
Oh, so did I.
Oh, no.
The video is still going on.
And I'm like, oh no.
And since Baby won't drink out of the bottle, Baby's going to drink somehow. And Mama's going to make sure of it. And so AJ is subjected to Mama trying to get him to nurse.
Yeah.
Oh, and Tess sees it, and she's just like, oh, she goes past slowly.
Yeah.
And she gets down the tunnel a little ways and steps on the crinkled up bit of the measuring tape.
Yeah.
And Mama does the deer, like all she hears it and takes off after her, and Tess runs. And she gets all the way back up, and she gets to where the basement door is, but it's locked. And she then breaks the window that she had handed the key to Keith earlier.
Right.
That's hard to say. Key to Keith.
Yeah.
Key to Keith. She breaks it. She's trying to climb out. She's having a rough time getting out, and someone grabs her by the hands and yanks her out.
Yeah.
And it's supposedly the guy who was running and screaming at her earlier, going, "Hey, little girl! Hey, little girl!"
That's my assumption. It's supposed to be the same guy. I didn't get a good look at the first guy though, but I'm assuming that's who this is supposed to be.
And he says to her, he's like, "You're safe. You're out."
Yeah.
He's like, "You should have never gone in there." He's like, and then she says, "What is she? What is she?" And he goes, "She's not even the worst thing that's in there."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, we're going to see some messed up stuff."
Yeah.
Coming. And then he says, "Well, she only comes out at night, so don't be around here at dark." And she's like, "We got to go back for him." He's like, "I ain't going in that house." He's like, "You shouldn't either." So, Mama has gone running for, looking for Tess, and now we get AJ wandering through the tunnels. Yeah. And we see at the same time Tess is wandering the streets. So it's like they're both looking for something.
Yeah.
And AJ finds another door, kind of a hidden door, and there's wires that have been running along the tunnel going in through the top of the doorway. And
because there's wires and there's a rope, because like when he turned the corner, he saw this like bell and it's attached to a rope, and so he follows the rope.
See, I didn't see that.
Yeah, yeah.
I
There's
guess.
a bell there. It's attached to a rope. He follows the rope, and then you also see that there's also some wires, and it all leads behind.
Oh.
Yeah, it all leads behind this door.
See, I didn't see the bell. I didn't see the rope. All I
Yeah,
saw was the wires. So, okay.
yeah. Because once he gets in here, you can kind of see like this pulley that can be used to. Because I actually at first I thought that this was a like the exit door or something, so that Mama could hear if someone was coming in and out of
Yeah.
the door.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
So, he sees the door and
yeah,
you start seeing Mama coming towards him in the darkness.
yeah.
And he's
Okay, so
freaking
yeah,
out.
he's right up against the door
Yeah,
now.
he's right up against.
Yeah,
And then she starts to back off. Like you're like,
yeah,
there is something messed up behind this door.
yeah,
So AJ's gonna find out what it is, I guess. And he opens up the door, and there's this like room that's just been dug out, but it's
hmm
like a bedroom.
yeah. It's
And
a much more lived-in room.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean, there's like a refrigerator in there, and
yeah,
there's a TV going and music playing and blah blah blah. It's just like static on the TV, but then there's like music playing and all this, and AJ's looking around. All of a sudden, he hears this someone coughing in a
yeah,
bed, and freaks him out. But he looks back and he sees this old man laying there. And in my mind, I'm going, "Oh, is this Frank? You know, the old." He's like, I'm not going to leave." And I'm like, "Oh, this is going to get messed up." You know, because
yeah,
now we got Frank down here. So, of course, it now goes to another scene, and Jess is at the gas station. She's like, I need to use the phone. I need to use the phone. So she calls the police, and the police show up, and they could care less.
hmm
They're like,
yeah. Because
what do
at
you
some
want?
point she's like, "I'm not a crackhead."
Yeah.
or something.
And the cops are just like, I don't have time for this. And they're like
Yeah.
answering their walkies during the thing. Like they don't believe her at all
No.
and all this sort of stuff. And we cut back to AJ. AJ's like, "Man, I'm gonna help you get out of here." He's talking to the old man. He's like, "I can't believe they kept you down here. I'm gonna help you get out." He goes, "Well, at least I'm gonna get out."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get out, and
Yeah,
I love that line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and to Justin's credit, he did a great job. He
Yeah.
really did. I mean,
Oh yeah.
playing
He did
this
a
kind of a
fantastic
jerk
job in this movie.
in this. So the cops come to the house, and she's telling them that she doesn't have keys to get into the house. She broke the window to crawl out. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, the only crime that I see here is that you broke somebody's window and blah, blah, blah. And you're trying to get us to break in." And she's like,
Yeah.
"No, somebody's down there. They need help." And so anyway, they don't believe her. The cops leave.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't know if this was intentional, but it kind of reminded me of, like those stories you hear how cops just won't patrol some neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because the people there aren't the right kind of people that they want to be caring about.
Yeah.
And, and if they do come by, they'll leave. They let stuff happen. So that's, again, I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that's kind of the impression I got about this is that they just don't care. Even if there are people here, it's not people they care about.
Oh yeah, we have gunshots all around my house almost every night, and
really?
you never hear the cops.
Yeah,
it's so common. It's just like no. So I mean, they never come around. So we're just like, oh, that someone just unloaded.
Yeah,
or fired back and forth because you can hear their different guns, but they just don't show up. It's just like you said, it's that kind of neighborhood.
Yeah.
AJ then sees a bunch of VHS tapes on a bookshelf in Frank's room, and it's just tape after tape, and it has women's names or their descriptions. Of them on the tapes, and
some of them are physical descriptions, and some of them are like really messed up.
Yeah.
Like descriptions I wouldn't repeat,
or lady from the gas station, or
whatever. Or
redhead
stuff like
from
that.
the gas station. So AJ pushes one of the tapes in, and you can tell it's more grapes happening
Yeah. Yeah,
There's
they don't actually
yeah,
show anything, but you kind
no,
of hear it and you can see
yeah,
AJ's reaction to it.
yeah, his
So
face, and
yeah,
which is kind of this weird dichotomy based off of what AJ had done and what.
yeah,
So anyway, Tess breaks back into the house. She grabs her car keys. She's gonna get out of there.
yeah,
So, and this is at night now. She's broken into the house, gets her
yeah,
keys, gets into the. She's gonna head for the car. You see that Frank has pulled out a gun at this point.
yeah. AJ's like, whoa,
whoa. And Frank puts it up to his own head and shoots himself.
Yep.
And you're like, well,
I wasn't expecting, but
yeah, it was like, well, that's all we got from Frank.
Okay.
So what's the thing that's down in the basement that's worse than Frank then?
I don't know.
Well, then Tess gets into her car. The old lady runs out of the house because it's night now.
Yeah. Yeah, she only goes out at night.
Yeah, and Tess slams into her with her car and slams her right into the house.
Yeah, basically pins her up against the house.
Yeah. And we see the old lady kind of collapse and, in essence, die, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Die. Air quotes. So AJ grabs the gun. He's running down the tunnels.
So I'm here. Oh, great. So now Tess goes into the basement and AJ is a jumpy dude with a gun.
Yeah.
This is a great combination.
Yeah. Yeah. So jumpy people with guns. So he's running down the tunnel. She's coming towards him, but they don't see each other. But they hear somebody running towards each other. And because she assumes that everything that's down in the tunnels is dead.
Yeah. So
she's going to go rescue him. And you hear that gunfire.
Yep.
Bang! And Tess goes down. AJ has shot her. So he ends up, I'm so sorry, and he's of course blaming some other sort of reason for why he shot her, blah, blah, blah. And he's dragging her out of the house and they get out together and the old lady's gone.
Yeah.
She's not pinned
anymore.
She's obviously still alive. His keys, he said, are down in the basement. Yeah. He said he's not going back down there. And her car is jacked up. So she's like, I know where to go. So they're like hobbling down the street at this point.
Yeah.
And I guess they're going to go look for that homeless guy. So I assume he's homeless. He lives in like a silo. I don't know.
Yeah. He's a homeless guy, but he's.
Yeah. He's a nice guy. Anyway, the guy's like, man, you guys made it out of there alive, blah, 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 and blah, blah. I can't believe she let you get this far.
Yeah.
And then she's like, are you sure we're going to be safe here? He's like, look, I've lived here for 15 years. She ain't never got it. Boom. And she comes through the wall.
Yeah.
like the Kool-Aid man.
Yeah, she does. She does the Kool-Aid man thing. Well, and the homeless guy explains that like the original owner of the house would kidnap women, take them down there. They would never be seen again. They would have kids, and he would do his thing to the kids, and then to their kids. So and
that's why she's the way that she is.
Yeah.
So this was just years of just torture, inbreeding, kept in cages. So Mama comes breaking through the wall. And while they're sitting there though, AJ can't stop talking about himself.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of everything else. He's like, I don't know if I'm a bad person, but I'm going to call and I'm going to apologize to, somebody that I hurt. And it's not Tess.
Yeah.
Not that he shot her.
Because, he's like, I don't know if I'm a bad person or if I'm a good person who just did like a stupid thing or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how he phrases it exactly.
I don't know.
But
this is prior. Now Mama's, oh yeah, herself through the door, through the wall.
yeah.
And it reminded me of that shark scene from Deep Blue Sea where Samuel L. Jackson stand on the side of the water. He's like, now what we're going to do is, and the shark comes up and grabs him. Yeah. She comes through the wall and just grabs his arm and rips it off of him and starts beating him to death with his own arm. That's what it reminded me of. He got Samuel L. Jackson. Okay.
Yeah.
So she beats him to death with it. AJ and Tess are running out. They can't get out of this fenced-in area that they were somehow able to get into, but now they can't get out.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't sure about unless I'm guessing, though, is that because she... Well, no, I did think about that, too, because I forgot, the Mama busts through the wall, so why can't they just run whatever?
Yeah, so... And they're like, we can't climb over it. There's barbed wire. So... Anyway, they decide to run up the ladder, not ladder, but stairway up to the top of the building that they made.
I couldn't tell. It's like a water tower
type thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So AJ's not helping Tess get up the stairs. She's trying to hobble her way up. AJ just takes off. He's clear at the top. And she's like, AJ, the gun. And he's like, oh yeah. And he gets it out of his waistband. And then fumbles it over the side of the... He
90s infomercials the gun. Right?
Yeah, it's like, how do I do this? So, and it just falls, and... So he's like, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what... he goes, I know that I can escape. He goes, but you're going to have to buy some time.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And he grabs her... And just almost like one hand throws her off of the water tower.
Yeah, just chucks her off of it.
And Mama sees that her baby is falling. So she dives head first after her baby.
Yeah.
And splat right on the ground. Now AJ's committed murder. So he shot somebody, he's raped people or that woman, and now we got a murder. So he goes down to check on him, and
like Tess has landed on top of Mama. So Mama was able to grab
her
and wrap her arms around her, and then
and roll to her back, and so and Tess somehow lives, gasping for air, and all
dude, AJ. At this point, is like, oh man, you started to slip.
Yeah, you understand why it happened, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you started to slip, and I tried to grab a hold of you, but you just wiggled out, and all this sort of horrible.
And then he's like, "It's okay, I'm saving you."
Yeah,
like, oh my god,
you're really not liking AJ at this point. And Mama comes back to life, and she sees AJ and what he's done and reaches up and grabs him by the head with her thumbs in his eyes and just gouges him out and in and crushes into his brain.
Yeah.
And he drops dead.
Rips his his head apart and then drops dead.
Dead. He's not coming back from that one.
No.
So then Mama sees that Tess is hurt and she's like, oh, and she wants to help, and she's like,
she wants to take her back.
Yeah,
home.
And she can't talk, and she can say home. Right. She was like, Mama or baby, Mama home, stuff like that. So it's like she's like, I can't go back, and Mama's like, she doesn't quite comprehend what's going on because she sees Tess as her baby.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not making sense. You can tell that the comprehension's just not there.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't go back. So Mama kisses her fingers and puts them to Tess's forehead as Tess puts the gun to Mama's temple and shoots her.
Yep.
End credits.
Yeah. Yeah, because basically
song by the Bay City Rollers. Be my baby, my little baby.
Yeah, and we basically just get like interspersed shots of the credits rolling and Tess
Just limping
walking.
away.
Yeah, she's just escaping the town. So,
Yeah.
and that's but that's it.
That's the end. That's the end of the movie. Drum roll. What are your thoughts on this film, sir?
So this is one of the most overhyped movies I have ever watched in my entire life.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
This movie got... Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you want to know something? I thought the exact same thing.
Really?
I finished this movie and went, that's it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what all the hype was about. And
I could not believe all the hype that I saw on Twitter for this.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is what it was.
Yes.
Because here's how I have the breakdown of my thoughts. The first 40 minutes of this movie are near brilliant. I mean, very, very tense, excellent, excellent shots, excellent setups. The music, just the overall tone of it is very, very unsettling.
Yes.
Right?
And then you're not for sure if he is... Yeah. Up to the point where we said this could have been a short film and stopped right there, and it would have been perfect.
Yeah, and I honestly think if it had stopped right there, I think I would have a totally different opinion of this movie.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? Then we kind of shift a bit, right? Because now Justin Long comes in, and now we get some of the humor, right? So now it does feel like a totally different movie, but I will say that it then starts to go back. So we have this different character now, and it's a bit of a different tone, but it does start to slide back into that sort of unsettling, dark tone. Right? And I think that it lasts basically right up until he gets attacked, right? Or, until he falls in to the pit, right? And you see that Tess is still around, right? So I feel like I was actually totally fine with the transition to this more humorous kind of like weird, thing. I enjoyed this part of the movie too, even though it was quite different. Justin Long did a fantastic job.
He really did.
In this.
In fact, all three of the main characters in this did a great job at their role.
Oh yeah, absolutely, really yeah. Where I think that first part of the movie is brilliant. The second part of the movie is fine, and like I said, it does go back into that more like unsettling horror. It's when we get the jump back in time for me is where this movie just completely loses it. Right? I think it just completely falls apart here.
I agree.
And
see, to me, that part where it loses it for me in the story part of Frank and where it goes back in time and everything is either that needed to not be in it.
Yeah.
Or it needed to be a lot longer. It needed to go more into what Frank was capable of. My biggest thing with this movie is the threat level was not high enough.
No.
For one, I've done construction. That was a flimsy ass door. Anybody could have broken out of that. That doorknob, they could have busted that doorknob off and gotten out of there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have ripped a deadbolt apart with my bare hands before to get into my own house.
Yeah.
It can be done. Okay. Yeah. So the threat level was nowhere near high enough for that old homeless guy to say, she ain't the worst thing that's down in there.
Yes.
And then not deliver on that.
That is
for Frank
crime.
to just...
That's a filmmaking crime.
As soon as you see Frank, he pulls out a gun and shoots himself.
Yeah. Because, even down to that point, I'm like, oh man, I thought he was gonna because I saw the little pulley for the bell or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, he's gonna pull this because obviously, I felt like it was pretty obvious that it wasn't Frank that the homeless guy was talking about. I'm like, maybe there's another one. There's somebody else down. He's gonna pull, and this bell is
or maybe
summon.
There's a butt ton of these kids.
Yeah, or there's a bunch of these things. Yeah,
yeah, and then it becomes almost like this hillbilly spit roast of Justin Long or something. You know, like, I mean, if they would have gone the route of this underground cannibal Holocaust, you know, like where it's like cannibals that are living under the grounds of these houses that are all inbred from Frank and all that. Awesome. There's a bunch of them. There's a threat level.
And the dude had to have had 100 tapes. And according to the homeless guy, he brought people down there all the time, had a ton of kids. And because
and how many generations could there be from the 80s till then?
Yeah. But like the implication was that this guy did this a lot. And every time there was a new kid, he did the same thing to them. And what we get out of it is this one.
Yeah, there's only one person down there inside these tunnels.
Yeah. This movie was not scary. Okay. I will say again though, like I said, with those first 40 minutes, it's very, very unsettling. And that's the kind of horror movie that I really like. I'm like, this movie is.
Yeah.
I appreciate that it subverted the expectations. Like, you know, with Keith dying that way through, I'm like, oh, geez, this did not go a direction I thought it was going to go. And I was totally fine with that.
Oh, yeah. I was ready for it to ramp up at that point.
I really thought it was going to.
Just to go head on. And then it just kind of tripped and fell and kind of and just kind of did this weird roll. And
it's like the movie itself did the horror movie trope where it
fumbled the gun.
Yeah.
It fumbled the flashlight down the tunnel and no, that's when it was over, I sat there and went, that was what I had been anticipating for this long.
Seriously.
And it just, like we said, if they would have ended it when Keith died, great short story. You knew nobody survived. There was no explanation for what was down there. It was creepy enough. End it there.
And like I wrote in my notes, like I've said on the podcast before, I hate the term overrated. Right, and that's how I initially described it. This movie's overrated, but I don't like that term because it usually means, oh, too many people like this thing that I don't like, and that makes me mad. Right?
Yeah.
So no, the movie's not overrated, but it is definitely overhyped. I don't understand what people were
so excited
hyping
about
so much.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
And I mean, I've heard people saying, well, it's supposed to be like a thought piece on believing women or trusting your instincts, or women trusting their instinct. And at the beginning, if you would have stopped it at that point, then yes, I could see where that, trusting your instincts type thing, where maybe it wasn't necessarily him, but there was still some sort of inherent evil or some sort of inherent whatever. But it just took this turn that just didn't work for it. I it's really because the threat level did not match the promised intensity.
Mm-hmm.
And it fell on its face for me.
And like you, the moment that homeless guy said she's not even the worst thing down there, I was like, oh man, what are we going to get? And then, like you said, nothing. We get nothing.
Could you imagine like this huge underground cave thing with like torches and like these small like shanty houses, like what was up above, down under the ground, and like these, like they're all like her, you know, kids that are living in these things, and they all come out and they're like torturing,
almost like the guy rebuilt the town that he didn't want to see go under because of whatever economic recession or whatever, you know, reason.
And he repopulated it.
Yeah.
That to me would have been like, oh yes.
Yeah.
And they're just,
they have to try to get out of that, you know, but no, it's like,
no,
I
it's
don't
like,
know, man.
get your way out of a tunnel.
This movie set up a whole bunch of stuff and then never delivered on it.
And why is this door supernatural that keeps closing and locking and nobody can get out of?
Oh,
it's like they really set it up to be like this supernatural thing, and it's like, it's not. There was nothing supernatural about this film. That just did not fit. They needed a reason for the door to shut, and it didn't make sense. To me, nowhere near the hype. If this was my pick or pass, I'd say pass, man. That's
unfortunate.
Or you could stop it right there, you know, where Keith dies, and be like, everybody's dead.
Yeah.
Leave it alone at that. So,
because, dude, that would have been such a fantastic short film. In fact, I would say, what really kind of stinks about this is obviously spoiler full podcast, which we failed to mention at the beginning, but
I'll put it in the notes.
But I like if I could just tell people to stop watching at I don't know 42 minutes, because I think that's about
you'll know when to stop.
When the mood shifts and you suddenly see the ocean.
When
turn off the movie.
When Keith's head is all over the wall, you know that's when it's over. Or it just goes to black.
What a great and short film. 40 minutes would be kind of long for a short film, but man, what a great setup. And then like all of a sudden your expectations are subverted and it's over. And I would have preferred never learning another thing about what happened afterward, because you didn't need to. You made a fantastic 40-minute short film, and then you added,
or take it to underground mole people, redneck inbreds that like to barbecue people. That's where it should have gone. That's my thoughts on this thing. But we are close to running out of time on this episode, so we need to. I was disappointed with it. It sounds like you're the same way. So unfortunate.
That's a bummer.
But but there was some really good shots in it. I mean, some of the cinematography in it, there was some brilliance in it. And
there really was.
But anyway, that's Barbarian. HBO Max.
HBO Max.
Yeah, so you guys can check it out on there, or it might be still in some theaters near you
probably
right now. Anyway, we're gonna jump into it. Oh, actually, first off, we're going to show you guys some things that are going to be coming out here pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
And they should be, these are movies, and either whether or not they're coming out on streaming into theaters or DVD Blu-ray release, they should be coming out up on the screen about now.
Right there.
Yeah. It's going to take the whole screen now, so we don't look like idiots trying to point to one side or the other. Yay!
Watch these movies.
Watch these movies. Check them out if you guys get a chance. Let us know what you guys want to see us do one of these episodes on. Make sure to leave them in the comments down below. You make sure while you're down there also to like and subscribe. Hit that big red button. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure you guys also hit the share button too.
Heck, hit the thumbs down button. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
It's on the algorithm, so
yeah. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. I don't care. Just tell somebody.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, so do that while you're here. We're gonna go into a little segment we like to call "Real Stories of Horror." I don't remember. It's up on the screen. Look at it. Look at it. Real life horror stories. I don't know. I really should have read that again before we did this episode, but whatever. Anyway, these are stories of horror type stories that have happened in real life. We have a story this week that comes from Indonesia.
Okay.
It was a story of a missing Indonesian woman. A woman was collecting rubber on a plantation near her home in Jambi. She went missing on a Friday night. She was supposed to come home from a day long on the plantation, but never showed up back home. And her family members identified her as Jara. Yeah, Jara. Her husband got really nervous, reported to the police, and they did a search through the woods, through the jungle, through whatever, looking for her, and tried to find her for 2 days.
Okay.
On Sunday, they ended up finding a 22-foot python with a bulge in its stomach.
Oh, no.
When they cut open the python, there was the woman almost completely intact still, inside of the belly of the beast.
Wow.
I know horror reaches over into monsters, and these are some prehistoric monsters, if you will. Anyway, she was a 54-year-old grandmother, and yeah, no, snakes, man. They are. I don't know. No, thank you.
Wow.
Especially big snakes. I don't do snakes. I don't do spiders.
No.
But definitely don't do snakes.
And see, I'm the other way. I don't. No thanks on the snakes. Definitely no on the spiders.
Spiders are worse for me than snakes.
Okay.
Ever since I saw Arachnophobia when I was a kid.
That's probably what did it for me too.
Yep. Nope. Wouldn't reach up underneath a lamp to turn it off for months.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I will not be wandering any Indonesian jungles anytime soon.
Good grief!
So
that's
yeah.
That's messed up.
That's a little bit of horror for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we close, we've got this week's pick or pass. Some things that we've watched recently that we'll either let you know whether or not you should pick or whether or not you should pass. And Shane, we're going to start with you.
Okay. Well, not too long ago, I was browsing Twitter and I came across someone who had mentioned that they have loved every horror movie they've ever seen except one. And it's going to be my pick for this week, actually.
Whoa. Wait, a pick? Like you're saying pick. Okay.
Yes. The one movie that whoever this random person is, I don't know, said that the only horror movie they ever hated, it's a B movie, and I actually thought it was pretty good for what it was. This movie is called Killer Sofa.
Really?
The tagline is "Don't sit on the furniture."
Don't sit on the furniture.
Now, to be clear, Killer Sofa is about a killer lazy boy recliner. But whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, it's through some shenanigans you end up finding out that this piece of furniture has a Dybbuk demon in it.
Okay.
What I love about this movie is just how straight it's played. Okay, there is a part where the final girl, the protagonist, is walking away from her apartment. She has acquired this piece of furniture after it has killed someone in the beginning, but she has acquired this. It is sent to her, and she starts seeing some weird things. But there's this one scene where she is leaving her apartment, and the camera pans, and you see up into her window of her apartment or house or whatever, and the lazy boy recliner is looking out the window at her.
Now, does it have eyes, or is it just sitting there?
Well, it has buttons basically, where the buttons are serving as the eyes. The scene is played totally straight, and it is brilliant.
That's fantastic.
This is a super stupid movie, but the way they play it so straight, I actually thought it was pretty decent. So yeah, I'm gonna say watch Killer Sofa. It's a pretty good B movie if you ask me.
It is a sofa you don't want to be caught sleeping on.
That's right.
So don't sleep on it. Check that one out, I guess.
What you got, Chris?
My pick, this is going to be a pick for this week, is I talked about it on, I believe it was a couple episodes back. I think it was our first episode. The Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures.
Oh, yeah.
He worked with Eli Roth. They co-produced this film. It was the one that came out on Halloween. It was called the Haunted Mansion Three Rings Inferno. But Zach Bagans owns the Haunted Museum Three Ring Inferno. Zach Bagans owns the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. And so they've kind of done a couple things with the Haunted Museum name, him and Eli Roth together. This one, they put out a film. It was one that Zach Bagans wrote. It's about a father and son who find an old circus trunk at a flea market. When they get home, they find an old circus tent in it, a small circus tent. And the circus tent is actually a portal into basically a circus hell.
Okay.
It is based loosely off of a true story that had actually happened with Zach Bagans, dealing with a clown costume that he had brought back that he had acquired that actually had some spirit entities connected with it. And that actually gave him, or had spoke to him and told him to build this diorama that went along with the costume, and that the spirits of these old circus goers that had been killed in this fire could actually still live on this diorama. Anyway, this kind of plays part into the film, which all these spirits that have been killed in a fire, thus the Three Ring Inferno, are still coming back and haunting this family. So anyway, to me, it was pretty well done. They did a good job with it. I didn't see a lot of the stuff coming. There was a few twists. Could it have been a better film? Yeah, of course, but they did a good job with it. They really did. Especially for Zach being his first film that he wrote. I thought it was pretty well written. Pretty well done. The story was his. There were other writers that actually did the screenwriting to it.
Okay.
But they did a good job with it. I don't know. I liked it. I liked the creepy atmosphere of it. And the story itself was really good. So I don't know, check it out if you guys get a chance. It played on the Travel Channel and Discovery Plus. I believe you can still watch it on both of those on some form of streaming. They're replaying it as well as video on demand through both of those platforms. So check those ones out. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this week. Let's talk a little bit about next week. Sir, what are we doing next week? What are we reviewing?
We're going to be breaking down Smile, which I have heard a lot of good things about, and let's hope that that one lives up to the expectations.
I'm gonna go out and see that one myself this week. So
yeah,
there's still a couple places around here playing it. So
yep, same here.
Gonna go check it out. Yep. So we will have Smile for you guys next week, and hopefully we continue smiling at the end of it.
Yes, so, after we've watched it.
After we've watched it. But anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Casters of Horror. Make sure you guys like and subscribe this video. Every click helps. So, that's it for this week. I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane.
And get the hell out of here. We'll see you guys.